Hello and welcome to Granada Reports Live with the latest news across the northwest.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Here's what's coming up on tonight's programme.
A woman who says she still carries the mental scars of being stalked online calls for better support for those targeted.
I ended up having to go to the doctors, got diagnosed with anxiety. I really did fear my life at one point.
Millions of pounds lost and now fears for supply chain jobs. The latest from Jaguar Land Rover in Halewood, where production is still on hold after a cyber attack.
A favourite with fans and musicians alike, the campaign to save the historic Apsley Cottage pub next to the Manchester Apollo.
Two sides of the city with plenty to prove. The season's first Manchester derby rolls into view, with both sides out of sorts and in need of a win.
After more than 2 decades in comedy, Jason Manford looks ahead to his biggest hometown show yet as he headlines the Co-op Arena.
And there's been some lovely rainbows around this week. More to come into the weekend and some windy weather ahead. I'll have all the details in the forecast later on in the programme.
So please stay with us for all that and more. First, tonight, it's a shocking statistic. More than 1 million people reported being stalked in England and Wales last year. Tonight, we speak to one woman who feared for her life when a stranger targeted her online.
Yeah, in October 2023, Joshua Snape, who's from Burnley in Lancashire, began a relentless campaign of sinister messages and unsolicited pictures to Amy, whose identity we've protected.
He set up fake social media pages to speak to her. He knew where she lived, where she walked her dog, and where she got on and off the bus. And every time she blocked him, he'd set up another account to try to talk to her.
Well, Amy's been sharing her story with Lauren Ostrich in the hope of encouraging more people to speak up.
I ended up having to go to the doctors, got diagnosed with anxiety. I really did fear my life at one point.
What started as a notification on her phone changed Amy's life forever. She was stalked online by Joshua Snape, a complete stranger who set up 4 social media accounts to send her message after message, picture after picture.
He'll send me a picture of his face and then it'd go, "Oh, I'd just seen you outside a pub." It wasn't nice at all. It made me feel really sick.
Joshua Snape first contacted Amy from his own Facebook account in 2021. Despite ignoring his messages, he sent countless DMs. Fast forward to October 2023, Snape began messaging Amy from 3 fake accounts on Instagram. He knew where she'd gotten off the bus and where she'd walked her dog.
He described my outfit, he described what my dog looked like, the colour of a lead, a collar, where I was going for a walk, how long I went on this walk. I was a bit worried about going back out because if this person knows where I'm going for a walk, he's going to know where I live.
Amy's story is all too familiar. 1 in 7 people over the age of 16 in England and Wales will be stalked. And it's more common up north. In this region specifically, Blackpool has the 5th highest rates of stalking and Halton is 11th on that list. Of those victims, 97% are psychologically impacted.
It was a fear of what in case I go into the supermarket and is there? What am I supposed to do? What in case I'm on my own and there's no one around? It actually really took a spiral on my mental health to the point where I weren't going out. Every door, every window, curtains, everything was locked, closed. I didn't want to see the outside world, really.
Amy reported Snape to Lancashire police, who were able to prove it was him sending the messages because of one particular piece of evidence.
The offender was taking pictures in his bedroom, which had a quite distinctive bedding, black with green leaves on it. When he was arrested, we attended the address, saw a bedroom with the same description of the bedding on it and photographed it to use as evidence. Little things might happen to victims that they might not always think it is risky or the danger that it has, so it is definitely important that it gets reported and that it is taken more seriously.
I imagine there's so many people out there who don't even realise that what is happening to them is stalking. What would you say to someone in your situation?
I would say definitely report it. Report it straight away. Even if you don't have enough evidence, still report it.
Snape pleaded guilty and was handed a suspended sentence and a 2-year restraining order. But for Amy, the mental scars will last a lifetime. She hopes by telling her story that more people will speak up about the abuse that they've faced online. Lauren Ostrich, ITV News, Burnley.
And if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in Lauren's report, you can head to our website for advice and support, itv.com/Granada. And we thank Amy for sharing her story with us.
Well, next tonight, and it's now almost 2 weeks since Jaguar Land Rover has produced a single car anywhere, including at its Halewood plant on Merseyside.
Yeah, since hackers targeted the company in a cyber attack at the end of August, production stopped at all of its sites at a cost of millions to the business.
Well, JLR says it's hoping to resume production next week, but in the meantime, unions are warning those in the supply chain risk losing their livelihoods and are calling for a furlough-type scheme to support them.
It's something Merseyside MPs are also worried about. They spoke to JLR bosses earlier today. Let's cross to Emma Sweeney, who's been following the story for us. Emma.
Well, we were told ahead of that meeting here this afternoon that there would be no big announcements, no big developments. It was more of a behind-the-scenes discussion as to what was going on. Now, Jaguar Land Rover says it is working at pace to try and address this situation. It's been almost 2 weeks now since that cyber attack unfolded and it affected the production. And in business, every single day matters.
So every day of lost output is going to mean they lose revenue of something like 72 million a year. The profit on that, I'm guessing, is something like 5 million. So the longer it goes on, the bigger the hit to profit.
And of course, it's not just the company affected. You've got customers, you've got the factory workers here at the site on Merseyside, as well as another couple of sites further down south. Those factory workers have been told it'll be Wednesday at the earliest when they return, although they've been told to stay on standby in case anything changes in the meantime. But as you say, there are also those who are part of the supply chain, and Unite the Union, as well as a committee of MPs, say those individuals are particularly vulnerable. They say that their livelihoods are at risk, and they are asking the government to come up with some kind of furlough scheme for those suppliers. Now, earlier this week, Jaguar Land Rover admitted that this cyber attack was worse than initially thought. There's been a data breach as part of it. We don't know whose data, what type of data, although we've been told that the company is informing those who have been affected. But this type of attack is becoming more and more common. Those behind this hack were also responsible for another couple of hacks that happened earlier on this year, including one on Marks and Spencer's, and it cost that company £300 million. So Jaguar Land Rover certainly not alone in this latest hack, but this is a reminder for companies up and down the country that they need to have robust defences in place, because it is certainly not beyond the realms of possibility for this type of thing to happen again and again and again.
OK, Emma Sweeney in Halewood tonight, thank you.
Two other stories making the headlines tonight, and a teenage boy's been charged after 2 people were stabbed at a bus station in Wigan. The 16-year-old, who can't be named because of his age, has been charged with 2 counts of grievous bodily harm and possession of a bladed article in a public place. Wigan Interchange has fully reopened following Wednesday's incident, but additional police patrols remain in place.
Campaigners are trying to block plans to build a large housing estate on green space between Manchester and Trafford. Rybank Fields Community Group want to stop the land in Chorlton being lost to a development of 120 homes. The 10-acre site's a former landfill that's become rewilded over the years. The residents have submitted their own planning application to retain it as a community woodland and meadow.
Construction works begun on a huge new water resort near the Trafford Centre, which is hoped will create hundreds of jobs. The project's on the site of the former Event City. When it opens in 2028, there'll be more than 20 swimming pools and an indoor beach. The scheme's been described as the UK's first urban wellbeing resort.
This is a piece of history that we're creating here, and it's really being created for the community. So it's built here in Manchester for Manchester in that respect. We expect about 1.7 to 2 million people a year to visit, so it'll be one of the largest tourist-based attractions in the UK. But at its heart, it's about the community, it's about building social value and helping people in terms of well-being and health.
We're not an exclusive resort or a spa. You know, we operate at scale to make sure that we have multiple price points. You know, we have lots of people come to the facility. It's an inclusive space. You know, we embrace diversity and inclusion. You know, it's a facility that we know, you know, people will want to come to, but we want to make sure that everyone does feel welcome and that we reflect the community that we operate within.
A Manchester pub, which is synonymous with famous bands and music fans, has been forced to close.
Yeah, Apsley Cottage, nestled just behind the Manchester Apollo, first opened around 200 years ago now. In more recent times, it had become a firm favourite for some of the world's most well-known musicians and comedians.
Yeah, many of them have been spotted grabbing a quick pint in there over the years, but the brewery that owns the pub put it up for sale, causing outcry from those who see it as a valuable piece of music history.
Tim Scott now takes up the story.
Another old pub under threat and another piece of cultural history that could be lost for good.
Places like this should be cherished.
There were people from all over the world that used to come in.
We're obliterating history.
The Apsley Cottage is around 200 years old and will forever be associated with the Apollo Theatre next door.
Oh, now I'm worth $1 million in prizes. With the torch of film.
Down the decades, Apollo punters would congregate before and after gigs in the little pub, a ritual almost as important as the concert itself. But now the owners, Admiral Taverns, have put the Apsley Cottage up for sale.
I'm absolutely devastated. It was my future. We were planning on taking the pub over and was in talks with the brewery.
This is a T-shirt that Ruth had signed of some of the stars who've passed through this pub in the last 6 months alone. So who've we got then, Ruth?
The Blossoms, the Lottery winners, Billy Ocean, Catherine Ryan, Mo Gilligan, Ricky Gervais, Jules Holland.
If somebody from Admiral was here now, what would you like to say to them?
I want to know why it was taken away from me when I was in talks with them, and you know, was basically told that I was taking the pub over. So, like I say, for a pub that makes so much money, it just doesn't make sense.
This means Ruth has had her expectations that she'd take over when the former licensee retired dashed. Manny from the Stone Roses has many memories of the Apsley Cottage and can't believe it's being sold off.
To be outside here on gig nights and feel that fizz of excitement and energy of to what's to come in there, yeah, we're going to lose all that now, aren't we? Yeah. Having been here that many times as a punter and as a professional musician, in inverted commas, the way we let the heritage go to rack and ruin in this city is beyond me.
Musicians performing at the Apollo would regularly pop into the pub for a drink. John Maguire worked at the Apollo in the 70s and 80s.
It was 200 years old, so it's not just about as a pub, it's about what was in that environment of that time.
A spokesperson at Admiral Tavern said, "We work closely with our former licensee to explore all possible options for the pub's future. However, we mutually agreed to part ways. We have now taken the decision to sell the pub and can confirm that contracts have been exchanged." But there is still some hope the Apsley Cottage can be saved. Ruth has a petition on change.org, and Manchester Civic Society are trying to get the pub listed as an asset of community value, which would possibly delay the sale. But if the Apsley Cottage is to go, it will be a sad end to one of Manchester's most well-loved landmarks. Tim Scott, ITV News.
Hope it can be saved. Time now for a look at ITV's top national and international stories at 6:30. Here's Charlene.
Coming up on the ITV Evening News, 22-year-old suspect Tyler Robinson is detained. We have the latest on the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Cabinet Minister says Peter Mandelson would never have been appointed if the Prime Minister knew the extent of his link to Jeffrey Epstein. And Prince Harry's surprise visit to Kyiv after getting permission from the UK government and his wife, Meghan. Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Right, time now for sport, and the return of the Premier League sees 2 all-North West matchups. And David, one of those is the Manchester derby.
It is, yes, and the other is Burnley against Liverpool. We'll hear from them in a moment, but we start with City against United and the 197th Manchester derby. Well, after underwhelming starts to the season by both clubs, Sunday's game at the Etihad is a meeting between two teams in need of a win, as Chris Hall reports.
Only last year, the Manchester derby was England's showpiece fixture after back-to-back FA Cup finals. Now, for the first time in a decade, they resume their rivalry without a single trophy between them.
The table in the moment, it doesn't matter. Well, I'm just worried about maintaining the same principles, the way we fight for every ball, these small details that sometimes we drop a little bit, not in these games. So I'm more comfortable in this kind of games, but we'll be ready against a very, very good team.
Pep Guardiola has enjoyed a decade of derbies, but admits he may not reach 27 years of service, like Sir Alex Ferguson did at United.
I want to be in front of the club, to take my shoulders bigger and bigger. But the time I'm going to stay, I said many times when I arrived here, first time I sang for 3 years, I never ever could have expected 1 decade. Yes, my 10th season here, I'm so proud of that.
Just 1 win each has left United 9th and City 13th in the early Premier League table. While United are already out of the League Cup, Andre Onana's unsafe hands this week palmed off onto Trabzonspor.
We saw Andre Onana did a very, very good season in Inter. The quality is there, and you can be really experienced. But in this club, the pressure sometimes is so hard. Sometimes you need a change.
City have their own fix between the sticks. Gianluigi Donnarumma has broken United hearts before. Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho humbled in that Euros final. He's arrived to lift more trophies on these shores.
L'importante è essere uniti, essere squadra, però sono determinato, ho grandi obiettivi e ho voglia veramente di fare la storia con questo club e di vincere tutti insieme.
Their form may say otherwise, but this remains a fixture to stir their fans and shake up their seasons. Right now, both clubs need this derby to stop the slump. Chris Hall, ITV News.
Well, after making the move from City, Jack Grealish has been rewarded for his great start to life at Everton by being named the Premier League's Player of the Month for the first time in his career. Everton are at home to his boyhood club Aston Villa tomorrow, while on Sunday Burnley host Liverpool, who finally have newly signed striker Alexander Isak in their ranks.
Don't expect him to be every single game 90 minutes on the pitch. That's definitely not going to happen in the upcoming weeks. He missed a proper pre-season. So yeah, this is what we have to keep in mind, and what the fans have to keep in mind if they see that I take him off at a certain moment, or I only bring him in for a small amount of minutes.
We'll go and give the best version ourselves. We're going to need a lot of things to go our way. We understand that, but we're relishing this opportunity like we have done at the start of this season. I think that's been the main theme for us, really, in terms of relishing these opportunities, going up against the best. And no doubt we're going up against an extremely good team, which we've seen over many years now. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, and there's a lot to look forward to for the Northwest fans of the Lionesses. The Euros winners will be heading to Manchester next month to face Brazil for an international friendly at the Etihad Stadium on October the 25th. It's all part of a homecoming series following their summer success. Meanwhile, Manchester United are investigating after some of their players' boots were lost en route to their Women's Champions League qualifier in Norway. Well, they had to go and buy replacements at a local sports shop just before the first leg with SK Brand, which they lost 1-0. The second leg is at home next Thursday.
Getting that winning feeling. FOW, sponsor of the Granada Sport Report.
Now in Rugby League's Super League, the all-important home playoff ties are at stake tonight as Leigh face St Helens and Wigan host Castleford, with the Warriors looking to secure second spot in the table. While in cricket, Lancashire Lightning will try to win their first T20 Blast title in 10 years after making it through to their 10th finals day. If they can see off Somerset in their semi-final at Edgbaston tomorrow, well, they'll face either Hampshire or Northamptonshire in the final.
Yeah, look, it's absolutely awesome. I remember Paul Collingwood saying it's the closest you'll ever sort of get as a domestic player to feeling that sort of international stage. It's a packed house, there's a buzz, you feel it sort of driving in. Really excited, keen to get going, and keen to play some cricket. It's not every day you get to play at a finals day.
Yes, good luck to Langston. Also good luck to Liverpool boxers Adel Kamara and Callum Makin at the World Boxing Championships in their home city this weekend. Both are looking to upgrade the bronze medals they're already guaranteed to golds. And let's hope that no one, or they don't lose their boxing gloves like the United women, or someone at the team anyway, lost their boots as well.
Bad that.
I bet they had blisters.
Oh,
Wouldn't
would you
it be
imagine?
good? Yeah, no one's really lost.
That sports shop did a good thing, had a good day, not
Good
so
trade.
much the team. Thank you very much. Well, having told you all about the Manchester derby, one man with his eyes right on it is lifelong City fan Jason Manford. And like his team, he's also planning on putting on a show over at Eastlands.
Yeah, the comedian, the singer, television host, paddle player, and who knows what else will headline at Co-op Live next month as part of his Manford of All Seasons tour.
You may have seen he is still on the mend from appendicitis. He was hospitalised with it, had to cancel 4 shows.
Yeah, and it just so happens that he gave us this interview on the day he fell ill. Ever the professional, he soldiered on as he caught up with Victoria Grimes.
Jason Manford, you're back here in October and you've got this massive gig here at Co-op Live that's going to be your biggest gig ever.
This will be the biggest one, yeah.
Ever?
In my home city. Yeah, so I did the O2 a couple of tours ago, but I think this will be bigger, yeah. So it's very exciting.
I cannot imagine what it must feel like to be walking out here and having to make all of those people laugh. How do you do it? I mean, I know that's your job, but...
Well, do you know, it's funny actually, because this is, well, hopefully, this is actually easier than a little gig. A little gig in front of 40 people fills me with dread.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a percentage game, isn't it? If I only make 60% of people laugh, then that's not many in a 40-seater. So yeah, when you can see the whites of their eyes, and that's when it's scary. This is. It is scary, don't get me wrong, but this is an event. Arenas are an event, and Co-op Live is an event, and so that's why it feels very very special, and it's just a privilege to be playing it.
And in front of the home crowd?
Hometown's always the best gig because you've got a shorthand with the crowd. They know you, you know them, but you also know the area. You know what a lot of people's backgrounds are and childhoods might have been like.
And you can tailor the jokes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't have to explain anything; they all get it. So it's just it's lovely.
And how do you deal with the hecklers?
Well, thankfully, in a room this size, you don't get them because what are you going to shout? I mean, obviously, you get the odd. Someone shouting out garlic bread every 6 minutes, for security dealt with that though. And what I do get is people joining in, but not in a negative way, just they sort of forget for a minute that they're not by themselves, you know what I mean, that we're not having a conversation, which I just take as a compliment, I suppose, that they're in a nice environment and it's given the confidence to, he does that, I get a bit of that sometimes, yeah.
You're slap bang in the middle of a 230-day tour, massive mammoth tour. You must be exhausted.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
But no, it is what it is, isn't it? It's all relative. It's not the hardest job I've ever had. It's the longest job and it's the most high pressured. But I definitely take this over when I was working in a call centre or a fast food restaurant. So that was harder.
And you're back in Manchester for Panto in December.
Robin Hood, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're back again, 4th year at the Opera House. And again, just a real privilege of a job, part of people's Christmas tradition and introduction of a theatre for a lot of children. And it's a real delight.
Have you been working out, getting those legs ready for the tights?
I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I've got to get in them tights. I've got to sort the quads out, yeah. So, I've been trying to get a bit fit for Panto.
Enjoy the tour.
Thank you very much, yeah.
Chatting to us today.
Pleasure.
Great.
Been doing a squat. OK, now to the Emmy Awards. They're going to be held this Sunday in Los Angeles, and there's a significant presence from the Northwest. In particular, Owen Cooper, the star of Adolescence.
Fresh off his win at the NTAs this week, the 15-year-old from Warrington could make history if he wins Best Supporting Actor in a limited series. If he keeps the award, the Warrington schoolboy will become the youngest ever male winner in the history of the TV Oscars.
Yeah, the Netflix drama itself has received an incredible 13 nominations, with first-time nominations for Liverpool's Christine Tremarco and Stephen Graham from Kirby, who both played Owen's on-screen parents. Another first-time nominations include Stockport's Amy Lou Wood and Jason Isaacs from Liverpool, both for the drama White Lotus.
Good luck to them. Let's get the weather now. Here's Joe.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. Good evening. Low pressure dominates our weather at the moment, and into the weekend the same applies. Saturday will be characterised by heavy blustery showers and a few bright spells, and during Sunday our weather turns increasingly wet and windy to close off the week. Back to the details. Pressure-wise, fronts drive in over the next 24 hours, briefly drier and clearer for a time tomorrow night, before the next system moves up from the southwest during Sunday evening, bringing wet and windy conditions to our part of the world into Monday. Back to this evening, showers continue to feed through on that breeze. It's quite gusty for the coast, and after midnight a more significant band of rain moves through with windy conditions, perhaps a little clearer before dawn for western areas. Temperatures generally staying in double figures, but in rural spots down to around 7 or 8 degrees. A breezy start to the day tomorrow. The sun will be up at 6:40. It sets at 7:33 tomorrow evening. And for most parts of the northwest of England and the Isle of Man, tomorrow is going to be a really showery day from the word go. Sunny spells, scattered showers at first, becoming heavier, more widespread after lunch, merging. You could hear some thunder again. There might be some hail in the mix like we've seen over the last couple of days. And it's feeling cool, 15, perhaps 16 Celsius at best. Breezy conditions continuing, but the showers will peter out by tomorrow evening, briefly dry and clear, and perhaps fine to start Sunday, but cloud will build and wet and windy weather moves in by the evening. That kicks next week off on a very unsettled note. It's fresh with low pressure continuing to dominate.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Oh, go away, rain. That's all from us this week on Granada Reports.
Yeah, we'll have our late news tonight, bulletins across the weekend, and of course all the latest is on our website.
Yeah, but from all of us here, good night and thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.